Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone and everything in between. Welcome to another episode of the Stay Positive podcast. I'm Alex,
I'm Pete.
and today, as the go-toers of positivity, stay positive, or at least one of them, we strive to help people be positive throughout their lives, throughout their daily struggle, through all the life and stuff in life that everyone goes through. And in life, sometimes we go through the hardship of losing a loved one or losing someone you care dear for. So, on this episode, we would first off, we would like to honor this episode for one of our friends who's going through a bit of a tough time. Um, we love him and we wish all the best for him. So, this is a shout out to you. You know who you are. And a shout out to anyone who's going through a hard time. We we've been there, and it's tough. I'm just gonna say that here. It's not the most fun time, but I'd argue that that's the time where you need to try to keep your head up high as best as you can and try to move on from it in in as much of a positive way as you can.
Yeah, I I totally agree with everything you said. I also want to make it clear that you should listen at your own discretion because this is a topic that a lot of people sometimes feel a little uncomfortable talking about.
Yeah.
It's not easy, dealing with the loss or passing of someone that really means a lot to you. It doesn't matter if they're a best friend, family, could be even a pet that you've had for a while. It doesn't matter. But what that person, that being had in your life, the meaning they had in your life is what really matters. And so this is a tribute and dedicated to all of the people that have lost someone any time in the last, I don't know, year or so or ever.
Ever, yeah.
This is for all of you, and we're going to try to share some of our stories and some of our experiences and how we've dealt with it, and hopefully we can spread some of that love and joy to everyone else, and maybe we can all learn together.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um,
So I could start us off. I
go for it.
I also wanted to give a big shout out to all my friends that we've had on before. You've met them, Alex, you remember. So that's
Yes.
Amir, Ron, Sim. Unfortunately, Kendall passed about a month ago, a little over a month ago, and it broke my heart. It broke all of our hearts. He was one of my best friends, and I only met him this year. It was jaw dropping to find something like that out on a Sunday night when you're just, getting some work done, grinding or doing whatever, having a chill day, and you just have one of your friends call you up and say, "Hey,
Breaking the news.
yeah, Kendall's dead," and I didn't even know how to react. I think for about a week or so, I was still in shock. I had no idea how to deal with something like that because I'd never had a friend. I'd never lost a friend like
Right.
that before.
Of course.
So I just wanted to, first of all, send my prayers out to his family. Um, everyone that ever knew him, that ever had the luxury of knowing such an incredibly loving person that he was, and just being touched, having their lives touched by him,
Of course.
being able to interact with that guy. he was he was one of the better ones. He was the best of us. So I just wanted to say I love you, Kendall. I hope you can hear me right now, and you know, hopefully that I can be half the person you were. I'll be an amazing person. I would love to aspire to that. So
I think I think that's a very important and very strong way to look at things is when something like this happens to honor them with your own actions, with your own life to be the best that you can be. Not obviously we have always focused on being the best we can be for ourselves, but when people prop you up, when people help you with your life, it's almost a way to honor them. Like they touched you and you're not, and when tragedy strikes and you're lost for words and lost feelings in a sense. I think both for you and for that person that you held dear to you, it's honorable for you to keep going, to like in memory of them as well. And I always tell people, or not always, this isn't a daily routine, but I always say, even though you've lost something, they'll never be forgotten. So they'll never truly be lost, at least not in your heart, I believe.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's the thing. Also, like I said, for me, it was such a weird occurrence to have to deal with something like that because I told you right before we started. I never lost. I
Someone
had
like
never
that.
lost someone like that. My great grandmother passed away when I was 4, but I barely knew her. I barely have any recollection. All I remember was going to the mass when
Yeah,
we were so young. I don't even. Like I said, I can't recollect any of it.
of course.
And other family members of mine, distant, maybe a second or third cousin that I'd probably met once and I don't remember their face, they had passed along the way. Aside from my grandparents, my grandfather who passed in high school and my grandmother passed away about a year ago. Uh, Aside from those, I'd never really lost anyone super close to me. And my parents, as I was growing up, they never really wanted to expose me to that aspect of life. And so I had to kind of figure out a way to come to terms with our mortality
Yeah,
in my own way, because I'd never really been
taught.
exposed. I'd never been exposed to any of it. I'd never been to a wake in my life. I don't remember ever going to a wake in my life. I'd never been to any kind of funeral. I'd never been to a cemetery where people are gathered around.
Doing, yeah.
Yeah, so it was weird. It was definitely really, really weird for me. I had no idea how to deal with it. I was just sometimes at a loss for words. I felt something that I also wanted to not necessarily come clean, but kind of be honest with you about is when I had first heard about Kendall, I felt nothing. I felt numb because I literally didn't know what was going on. I felt like it couldn't have been real. I was practically in denial, you know?
And that's probably like your brain's natural coping like well, not natural, just a way some people might cope with it is just like turn it all off to try and, I don't know, block it out.
Yeah.
Um,
It was weird. It was weird.
it's a part of. I think it's like, what is it? The 5 stages of grief, or 7?
I don't know how many stages there are,
But
but
like, yeah,
there are
there are
stages, yeah.
stages of handling or going through the motions with this, and I think it's completely natural. I think you you shouldn't pay it any mind, so to speak, but like just let it happen, because
Yeah.
eventually your state of mind will come to like the final stage, and that's like acceptance.
Oh yeah. A few days later, I definitely let the tears flow.
Yeah,
That was for sure.
yeah.
It took me a couple of days to really
Come to
accept that.
terms. Yeah,
Yeah. But I think the night of, the day after, seeing all my friends there and, being with them and seeing how hurt they were, and I felt like I had so much pain to elicit. Even just like I said, I only knew him for 4 or 5 months and we were like this. That's
yeah,
how strong our bond was, right?
yeah, yeah.
But, the showing that same amount of grief that they were, I felt like I was unable to an extent. And it didn't bother me that much at the time, but afterwards when I got home I was like, wow, why was I feeling like that? And then I came to terms and forgave myself as well because they knew him longer than me. That's a fact. They were all very, very close before I entered their lives and vice versa. But at the same time, everyone deals with this different. And so if you've ever found yourself in a situation, this is to all the people, a situation like myself where this is not something that you've ever had to deal with before, and you feel like you don't know how to cope, you don't know how to really feel
You're
the
not alone.
the emotions are not coming. Trust me, you're not alone. And be able to forgive yourself. Tell yourself that it's going to be okay and that you're not a horrible person, because trust me, you're not. You just have a different way of interpreting this type of emotion, and it's okay. It is totally okay to feel like that.
Absolutely. And I think maybe this could be a somewhat of a segue. So, like in the last few months, someone in my community like passed away.
Really.
Yeah, and they were really loved and really well respected. And it was obviously unfortunate, and the means as to why he passed was not the most pleasant, but it is what it is. And then we went to the church, and we went to the funeral, or the one before the funeral.
Yeah.
We went to the casket, and we did all the thing.
Right.
And then afterwards, everyone was talking, and I I I didn't have a revelation. I had a very strange experience in that moment. You know, everyone loved the man who passed away, and after the ceremony, people were not happy, but they were very like sociable, very positive, and it was very peculiar to me because I was lost. You know, I felt like this is so unfortunate that something like this were that he was an old man, by the way. So, but I still like losing such a great person is not something you want to hear.
Yeah.
And so everyone was like talking and being somewhat in a bit of a happy mood, and I was perplexed by that because I didn't see this as a moment of quote unquote like celebration or moment to like smile, so to speak. But then I spoke to someone, a close friend of mine, who was there, and I asked him kind of what was the deal. Why is everyone so like happy? In like not, and I want to really like emphasize not happy of what happened, but like the mood was not as depressed. It wasn't a depressed mood. It was like a not like a party mood, but like just very social, very like nice mood. Like very welcoming, very you wouldn't think it was for a funeral. You know, is what I'm trying to say. It was a very kind of nice mood. And and I didn't know why this was the case, and I asked my friend what's the deal, and he said when you lose like a loved one, when you lose someone precious in your life, it's you could treat it as you like lost something, but you can also see it in another way and to treasure his very life, treasure his existence, treasure all the good experiences you've had with that person, and be like respect, honor, and be happy for the life they've lived, because obviously this is for people you love, you know. So these aren't like horrible people you would do this for. These are like the people that are most dear to you. And he explained it like, while it's no one's happy that he's gone, they honor how magnificent of a person he was, how each of them can relate to each other through him, how like the bonds everyone has might not have even come to be without his existence. They might not even be where they are without him. And you know, to honor the man's life for, and you know, be happy that you got to be in this man's life and that he was in yours was. And I think that was a kind of an eye opener, because like that was a new perspective I never truly considered. I guess I'm the glass half empty type of guy, but it was nice to hear that at the time, because it's true to a certain extent. If you never had this man, like if you never had this loved one in your life, think of all the things you would have missed out on. Think of all the like experiences you wouldn't have had. And while it's 100% awful when they're gone, you know, and that feeling of emptiness that you might not have more of those experiences, the fact that you had any at all, I think, is to be treasured and to be valued and to be like respected, because if you didn't have it, you would have been even more empty without it. And I think this is a Dr. Seuss quote, but I think it's a really like nice quote. And the quote is, "Don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it happened." And I really think that's like it's true. There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't have been more grateful to have gotten to know Kendall, and I'm sure, despite whatever relationship you had with that person, I'm sure you couldn't have been more grateful to have known that person as well and what they
100%.
contributed to your life.
100%.
And I was gonna ask you, because now that we've kind of shared some stories and experiences that we've had, what do you think, aside from, the obvious where you want to celebrate the memory of someone, you want to, like you said, shine a light on all the things that they contributed to your life and all the good times that they added, stuff that you would have, like you said, missed out on had they not been in your life. Aside from celebrating the person, what else can someone do in a situation like this? Because, we've gone through loss, right? But, someone might be going through a loss this very moment. And it's way easier to say celebrate their memory and be happy, be positive, whatever, than it is in the moment when you've actually gone through something like that.
Of course. If you are going through it right now, first things first, and I want to emphasize, at least for me, and I assume you'll agree, I'm just a guy. I'm not any sort of psychologist or therapist, or like I'm not even like a parent yet, so I'm not an expert on anything. But this is my 2 cents, and based on my experience, how to like move on from this, or how to at least get going in the moving on process. First thing is to just let the emotions out. It sucks. It does suck. It's not pleasant, but you can't ignore it. You're not happy right now. You're not. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay to like be up. You are allowed to not feel good. This is not a time right now for you to try and trick yourself into saying this is fine. It will be. I want to emphasize it will be fine. But right now, when the damage is feeling fresh, it's okay to be upset and let the emotions out. I think is the first step. And once whether it be a day, a few days, a week, maybe 2 weeks, it takes time, and for each person that time period is different. Second, I'd say is try and talk about like the good stuff. Talk about like when I was at that funeral and how everyone was speaking so highly of the person. I think this is a pretty good way to ease the pain, if like to remember them in like a good way, to say, hey, remember that time, and just like remember the good times, and like kind of smile, kind of like reminisce and be relive like those happy moments, to see how like precious that person was to you, and to kind of remember how much they touched you and how happy things were. And so I think that would help if you rather stay isolated, or if you'd rather just let your emotions pass on your own. I respect that as well. I think that's what I did the first time when I was younger. When I went to a funeral, that's how I was. Just like, don't talk to me, just leave me alone, so I can just process things on my own. So do what you gotta do to make yourself kind of flush out all the negative emotions, and then try and get on with your life, because I don't want to sound cruel or cold or uncaring, because I do care about the well-beings of everyone. I would never want bad things to happen to normal people ever. treat others like you want to be treated, but at the same time, your life still needs to be lived. You know, while it's awful to lose someone you loved, your life your life is still yours, and if you really love that person, once the emotions are like cleaned, once you're feeling better, it's time to, wipe the dust off, you know, splash some cold water on your face, get up and, keep going with your life. And not only for yourself, because that's obvious that's important to live your life for like you, but now I feel you should have even more motivation to live life for that person who touched you so much, in a sense, to make it not like in vain, and it's hard. There are people who, when they lose someone, they completely shatter, and I can't blame them because everyone's different and this is not an easy thing to go through. But when it comes to your well-being, when it comes to your future, when it comes to your life, you know it's time. It's at these times you need to go through the healing process, and once you're decently healed through this tragedy, it's time to, get up, get on that horse, and keep riding forward.
Couldn't have said that all better myself. I mean, I agree with every part of it. I think that, it is important to stay mindful and be able to experience the emotions, let them out, you know. And even if you, like I said, if you have no emotions to let out, that's okay too. Like I said, that's how I dealt with my first real loss, and I I didn't expect that to happen because I think I'm a pretty emotional person, but that that was the first real experience and way I could have ever shown something like that. Or okay, rather second or third, but someone that was super close to me that was not within my immediate family. And yeah, I mean, you are blessed with this gift we call life, while everyone else around you is as well, and you owe it to yourself and to the person that you're celebrating to continue to make the most of yours. And
Absolutely.
that is chief of all what we stand for here, because aside from all the free thought and all the optimism and everything that we want to kind of spread, it's being able to live your life and doing the things that make you happy and keep you positive. Those are the things that matter the most. And at the end of the day, every person has something that they're dealing with. Every person has something that makes them sad,
No one's life is
whatever.
perfect,
Yeah.
and I know people have heard this expression, and I don't, I hate it, but it's the truth. And the sooner you come to accept this, I think, not the better it'll be, but you'll ease into it a little more as you get older. And that's, with life, there is the loss of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, death is a part of life.
Yeah. I
And
think it gives it value.
it's
I mean,
true.
I've always been one to tell you that I think that of the things that we value in life, I think there's only one thing that passes all the, or checks all the boxes for me, and that's time. Time itself. There's nothing really that holds value other than time. And you could see it in situations like this where, you wish you had more time with someone, you wish you could have done something on your own time, whatever.
Absolutely.
And that's what gives life its value, is the fact that it is finite. The fact that we have to get a certain amount of stuff done within the allotted time frame that we have on this planet with other people, and being able to, have that opportunity is, I think, an incredible gift that we should all not squander. And even if you are going through something, of course, you just have to realize that you're not alone. There are people that love you. There are people that are around you, and there are people that would do anything for you. You just have to remember those people and how they would feel. Put yourself in their shoes. Empathize. Because sometimes people feel like they're alone. They don't think that anyone cares about them. And I definitely felt like that before. I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
It's not a good feeling. It sucks. However, I failed to rationalize to myself in times like those that there are people that cared about me, even if I didn't care about me in that moment. And something that helped me get through it was realizing, oh, my life doesn't only touch my life; it touches many other people's.
Yeah,
I'm a presence in a lot of other people's lives, and what would it do to them if I suddenly exited for no reason
a-
other than my own reasons, things that were inside me? That would be very non-empathetic of me in the moment, right?
absolutely. I mean, like you said, life is finite, and while that may not sound too pleasant to hear, I I feel once you come to terms with this, you really come to appreciate like even the slightest moments that touch your heart with anyone or anything, like animals, pets, or some of your best friends, family, step family, soldiers, brothers in arms, sisters in arms, a doctor that saved your life, anything, you know. With each moment you are alive, you live these limitless like moments. Like anything can happen, and I feel it makes you appreciate like all the good things that happen. And while it will make the bad things sting, you you still got time. You know, you're still, as long as your heart is still beating, you still got a life to live. And when you've lost something that you hold dear, that heart's still beating. And to honor those things that you love, they loved you just as much as you loved them, most likely. And you know, it's your life is worth living. And to be blessed to have experienced any moments with the ones you loved, I think, like I said, it's a blessing, and we should try our best to see it as such. I think I
I've
think
got
that's
nothing else.
that's pretty
I've got
much it.
nothing else to say. I want to just say once again that, you know, shouts out to all the people that are going through something right now. If you're going through it, we're here with you. I
Absolutely.
mean, big shouts out to our buddy who's going through it. You said you what you had to say, so I'm not gonna be repeating myself.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, shouts out to my dear friend that I lost. You know, and it's hard to stay positive at times like these, but you need to realize that you have the power to do so. It is within you, and you shouldn't let anyone take that power away from you. It is up to you to gain control of what makes you happy, what makes you sad, and you have a chance to really make a difference for yourself and for others if you keep that attitude and just let it run rampant in a good way, you know? Let it touch other people's lives. Let it be the thing, let it be the beacon that lets you get over the things that cause you great grief, great stress.
Absolutely. And I guess I think one last thing I want to say is, you know, like we've said numerous times on this episode, that most likely if you've lost someone you love truly, they've offered you so many priceless experiences that you cherish. And I want to say that to whoever is suffering right now, your life has that same effect on other people. There are people who love you just like you love that person, and you offer some priceless moments of your very own to others. And I want people to realize that your life, whoever's listening, your life is precious, it's valuable, and you yourself are bringing a lot of joy and positivity to someone's life. And however many lives that may be, it depends, of course, but like you're worth it. You're worth it. Just like that person who you are crying and over, they were worth it, and so are you. And I think this is probably what life is all about, is just making your time the most worthwhile it can be.
That's enough to make anyone stay positive, man.
I hope so. So, I guess with that being said, I think we both said our piece. So, to everyone who's listening, my condolences to anyone and everyone who's listening, and to all those men and women, boys and girls, and everyone and everything in between. Stay strong and stay positive.